Hello and welcome, strangers. I'm your host, Bitsy the Alien, galactic overlord of the Stranger Realms multiverse and the planet Eoterra. Without further ado, let's welcome this week's amazing guests aboard the Mothership. Hello, introduce
Hello.
yourselves, Moana and Ryan. So glad to have you on.
Yes, happy. Well, thank you so much for having us be a part of your show. I know we're one of your first guests, the first group of guests as you launch your universe and your awesome amazingness that you're creating. So it's a pleasure for us to be here. Aloha, everyone. My name is Moana McAdams. I am a children's book author, as well as an editor and publisher for our comic book series, The Wild Card Chronicles. And I also have a live stream podcast as well that we run on Thursday nights called the Moana Nui Podcast. And I'll hand it over to Ryan.
Hi, my name is Ryan. I am an artist. I've been doing art, my whole entire life. So I have a degree in it in fine art and minor in illustration. But fine art was my goal and my original degree in. I'm Moana McAdams' illustrator. She is the author. I'm the illustrator. So we are here to talk about our wonderful book. I illustrated the book and can't wait for people to see it. It's really exciting. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I show all my art there. You can follow me. I can give y'all links at the end. But that is me.
Awesome. And I do have the live Kickstarter link in the description, so you can go check that out and support at any time. And let's jump right in. So I asked everybody this first question. I want to know, what is your relationship with anime and manga? And what does the word isekai mean to you, if it means anything at all?
Ooh, I think this is going to be a Ryan question because I'm not as big on anime.
Not a Ryan question, girl. No.
Like my extent of
anime goes to Street Fighter the movie, Ronin Warriors, and Death Note. That's the extent of what Ryan.
I love Death Note.
All of Studio Ghibli's movies, like Howl's Moving Castle and stuff like that. But other than that, it's dead to me. I don't know. I know. Don't get me wrong. It's not dead to people. I just don't know much about it.
Yeah, the only it's a Studio Ghibli one is the only one that I'm kind of like I watched and I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Far away, fly. Oh man, it was on HBO.
Mononoke, all of it. How's Moving
There's so many of them.
Yeah,
they're all really good.
Don't laugh too hard at my general lack of knowledge and experience.
It's all good.
I like the art though. The art is dope. Like,
oh, thanks.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like the art, and it's always like, you do that weird Japanese stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. But that's why I like asking that question, because a lot of people like in comics don't do manga. So it's kind of interesting to be like, have you heard the word isekai before?
Right. Yeah. So like, I think that's what's great about just art and the creative community in general. There's just so many different things to get into, right? And you don't have to like everything, but there's something for everyone, I think. I have not heard of the word isekai, so what does it mean? Educate me.
So it is a Japanese word that means other planet specifically. And oftentimes it's a genre associated with somebody dying in our world and getting transported to another world.
Yes.
But I'm kind of trying to broaden the perspective and freshen up the genre, because it's kind of getting slept on. It's kind of getting old and tired already. And I'm trying to bring like a new perspective to it. Like it's other worlds, it's other planets. And I want to put a little more effort into the world building aspect of these planets.
So is it kind of like, are we talking like parallel worlds, or are we talking more like afterlife?
More parallel worlds.
Okay.
Yeah. So actual universes and planets and alternate dimensions, multiverse kind of stuff.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I dig it.
Yeah. I'm getting educated. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about your guys' world.
It's a world. That's that. It's a world.
Nice and round.
No,
Yes.
around. It's a lot of different places.
I don't know. Ryan, you start. How would we explain this world?
I think for us, with our book, Moana takes you to different places that are built entirely in culture, but also built entirely in fun new ways. I think for most people, a lot of people experience new world dimensions through science fiction, folklore, mythos, mythology, things of that nature. And, most people build their own worlds in their own head when they read as well, and how they want to picture their own sceneries, their own adaptations of how they feel like what the book would actually be if captured in life. So doing this together is what basically how it was. We were working it out, writing the story, writing but the images were just building completely in our head. Me and Moana didn't have to like debate or talk or do much because we were pretty much on the same level the majority of the time,
Which is a
That's
huge
so
blessing.
Yeah.
It made the process a hell of a lot easier.
Because I never really delivered a manuscript to Ryan either.
Yeah, it did, but
it was very draft.
but it was like it was there though, in a way. I don't know how to explain it. It was just there. And then it kind of felt like all we need to do is go and push it. But the thing is that I wanted to kind of maintain a balance of the first book to this book because they're so different, but yet so close in nature. So I didn't want to really push things too far because I have a tendency of doing that. But for me, it was more kind of like really taking a stroll into a place where we haven't seen before. We're dealing with places that we would like to establish in future books, but also establish a depth that you are intrigued at the same time. Just how like most people write their books, they want you to give a level of interest to keep you interested and keep you going. It's the same way of how we did this book. So our world is, you can see it build around these people, but we're establishing something now, but we're going to establish something bigger going forward. And that's the whole idea. Yeah.
Okay. Laying the groundwork there for some really big, fun story plots. That's awesome. And it's really a wonderful thing when an artist and an author click. That's something that me and my husband have always had trouble doing.
Are you the author or the artist?
Both, but I'm dyslexic, so I need a lot of editorial assistance. And Aaron comes in and he's like, I've got all these ideas and you need to change these panels. And I'm like, the ink is done. It's not changing.
There were a couple of those times too. I'm like, can you do this now? And he's like, nope, sorry, already.
It's like, you should have told me that 3 weeks ago.
I'm like, no, we're going to make it work though. It's okay.
It all worked out in the end.
It did, even though there were times when it was like, oh gosh.
When there was times where it's like the fear set in. It set in hard, but it all worked out. Yeah, but I think this time around, it won't be any kind of intro. We're just going to dive.
Yes, we're going to go deep.
Yeah, because I think we got all the kinks out this time.
Nice.
Yeah.
There weren't many. There was just a couple.
Yeah. It's just, getting used to working with a partner and understanding where their head's at and, expectations, as it is with building any new relationship or partnership. All part of the, part of the process. But yeah, so the first book, I had a different illustrator. Her name was Sheila Alejandro, and she's actually Filipino, and she's in the Philippines. And so she came up with the original concepts of our characters, and it was definitely very childlike, which is it was the mood that I was trying to create at the time, because the characters in my story are based off of inspired by family members. And so you have the two kids, Nakoa and Nohea. The series is called The Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea. And then you have Papa Ray, which is based on my father. And at the time, he had just passed away. And so this was kind of my way of capturing his legacy, and also me helping get through my own grief while also creating something that the kids could feel like there is a memory and an essence of their grandfather that is going to live on. And that's something that we are trying to keep present in the story. There was a time when I was like, I don't know how I'm going to connect this to what Ryan is creating, because it's very different. Ryan is the illustrator on Shadows of the Ancient, which is the second book. And it is definitely not your typical kids picture book. It takes you into the islands, which is, inspired by Hawaii. But there's definitely like a fantasy, whimsical kind of feel to it, where, we talked a little bit earlier about Lord of the Rings, and like we're very heavily influenced by that. Movies like The Goonies, fun adventure movies that kids can, feel like, oh, what would it be like to be in this place? And then also incorporating some Hawaii myths, legends, aspects of our culture, kind of some of the lessons, and there's always that for me. Like, I wanted it to be that nice balance of an entertaining, fun book that anybody could enjoy, but then also still having like lessons and things embedded in it that people could learn from, whether you're a kid or you're an adult. Like, because I feel like this really is an all ages series. It's definitely targeted towards kids, but it's something that, anybody who reads it can get like a good lesson from it. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you say that the myths and legends kind of lead your creative process, or would you say that the characters are what kind of bring the story to life in you when you're actually creating the story yourself?
I think for the first book, I would say that the characters led it, but with Shadows of the Ancient, it's kind of like
pure story.
It's story. The characters are great.
Yeah.
But in this one, we really wanted to play up the myth part. And
the myth in the story is the primary source of what this book is all about, especially the way it ends. So, but in that way, knowing you're going to get something, a benefit out of it, because we have dropped a lot of nuggets into it, and you have to pay attention. Like, it's a pay attention kind of book, the way Moana has set up things, because we have things that you don't notice until you start looking closer and closer and closer at the book and the illustration. So I think for me, the story led this whole entire book. It was from beginning to end what is quintessential, the beginning of something great, in my opinion. And I think she's going, and if this for me, it can go anywhere beyond this, because it's not left up to interpretation, because we know where it's going. But for me, I think the story is the primary factor of this whole entire book, and I think people would really, really, really enjoy it. I think Moana really outdid herself on this one, and it's only going to get better. So.
But see, Ryan says that, but like a lot of the story, like I said, like we didn't do it in a formal way. Like, I had a general, I would say I wrote an outline of like,
it was an outline.
This is the plot points that I want to hit along the way.
It got soupier, and it became a dinner. It became a dinner meal by the end of it.
Yes, because his art was like driving, like, when he's putting onto the paper and he's seeing from my words, I'm like, oh, I like that. Okay, let's tweak this a little bit. We're gonna go over here a little bit. Like, oh, we're just gonna play this up. I love what you did right there. Like, yes, let's think about how we can do this. So it was very unconventional way, at least to me, like what I would think, because I see a lot of other creators like, okay, I must have this, comic strip, right? Like my comic script, and it's, have all the characters things, and I'm like, that intimidates me. I'm like, I cannot do that. That's too much. I feel like I'm overthinking, and it takes away the creative part for me. I do better, and I mean, other people will probably be laughing at me like, what is she doing? But more like kind of on the fly and like being inspired in the moment. I think it makes for a better story, because for me, I'm trying to put myself into the kids, you know, in the kids' shoes. What would I be, you know, as a kid, like how would I be viewing this? Like, this is all fresh and new. You know, what would I be doing if I encountered these myths and legends? I'd be like, oh snap, you know, like, and just kind of like thinking about the different voices and you know, the experiences that my sister and I had as kids, and you know, with our cousins and things like that. So I'm trying to put some of my own personal experiences that you know, you wouldn't know that unless you know, talk to me like this, but just to make it fun. Like
That's
like,
really awesome.
yeah.
Did you go ahead?
No, I was just gonna say, we talk a lot about Lord of the Rings, but you know, Sam, Frodo, Merry, and Pippin, like 4 kids on an adventure. They start off in innocence, and little do they know they get swept up into this big thing, you know, and that's kind of like the vibe that we're trying to put into the story.
That's really awesome. And I think the kind of like all ages is, I think like you were saying, like it really is all ages. Like I still watch cartoons and kids shows, and like that's some of the best stuff, especially if you grow up with it. You know, someone will grow up with your book and they'll come back to it in their like 30s and read it and be like, man, I still love this.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because like, you know, even us, we can go back to our favorite things and be like, oh my gosh, like the Boxcar Children. That was one of my things, like back in the 80s, right? Or the Babysitter's Club, which they just had that Netflix, you know, Netflix had the show. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Claudia, you know, and all the names start coming back. And I'm like, you know, it was this big thing for me. I think that I got some of my entrepreneurial spirit from that series too, you know, like, oh, they're going to make money doing babysitting, you know, and all these things. But yeah, I really want kids to have something fun to kind of go back to, just like we, you know, there's things that we get nostalgic about and we want to like reinvent and refresh and reignite, you know, some of those childhood memories and energies that I feel like we need as adults, because life can like beat you down, and you need that balance, right? So
I make it a point to watch Winnie the Pooh a few times, like every year. Like you gotta watch it.
Definitely.
Yes. I love it.
Let's see. So, what would you say that your world has specifically that you don't think anyone else does? Like
Color.
Like the planet specifically.
Color.
What was that?
Color.
Lots of color.
The book is very, very diverse in color. It makes you feel, when you turn a page, you can capture emotion in the page. So it has a lot of color, as you can see. So
is this your work right here?
Yeah.
That's awesome. It is very colorful.
Yes, it is.
So I think that's what, you know, that you will feel from this book, because each page is a turning point. You'll feel a dramatic difference in each page. So, but the book is incredibly cohesive, and it tells the story very, very well through Moana's words and through my illustrations. So you'll figure that out once y'all see it. I can't give too much away because people haven't read it, so and I don't want to give too much away. But I think for me, like, the world building and the color is there, and we establish a lot of settings and a lot of placements for where these kids can go. So I think that's what's really exciting about it, because it's the jump off point of something that's great, that makes her IP better and greater throughout the process. So I'm just honored and glad to be part of it. It's always something I wanted to do. I always wanted to do a children's book. I've been trying to do a children's book for like the last 9 years of my life. So, and Moana has given me that opportunity to be officially a published illustrator. So I'm really proud of that. So I'm proud to work on this IP, because this IP is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah. I can tell you've got such a great enthusiasm for it.
I mean, I love this. I love this whole entire IP, and I love this project. I love where the project's going to be going, and I just want to continue this project so people can know what she's building and what we can create together. So I'm just
Mhm.
really excited about it, and it's only going to get better because now we know how to jail. We just can go now. So I think at this point, for people who don't know who we are, what we're trying to do, it's basically just building something grand in spectrum, just like any other IP, from Harry Potter to any young adult book, because kids get older, so eventually the characters will get older in the process. It's like that. You're
Mhm.
basically dealing with like year 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be like that. You got year 1 in Papa Ray. This is year 2, Shadows of the Ancient. We're not going to mention book 3. So, um, but this is where we're at right now. But when you understand, when you read the book, you'll understand, like, oh, I understand now. I know what they're trying to do. And that's exactly what it is. Although it's only 36 pages, you know where we're going. So, and that's the
Mhm.
beauty of this book. But like I said, it's the colors, the dynamics of this book, more than anything.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to like slap people in the face with the colors in a good way, right? Like, hey, come over here, look at what we got going on.
Mhm.
Because you look at most other children's books. I love children's books, but like we wanted to create something new and more unique and really bring a fresh perspective to the genre. And that's something that I had to battle with myself, throughout this creative process. I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I should be going into the mold, like, but I'm like, no, but that's not what's like, anybody can go into the mold. But anytime you're trying to like put a spin on something and take a slightly different path on it, it's natural for you to be like, oh, is this gonna work? I don't know, but like it's fun for me. It's fun for Ryan, and yeah, we just get to like kind of blaze our own path on this thing. So
That's
uh,
exactly what it is. Because
mhm.
I could have did what every other children's illustrator do
Right.
pastel,
Flat
like
colors.
flat colors, and do that kind of like aesthetic look, like where the wild things are, where like
Right.
that very flat aesthetic pastel kind of look, which a lot of children illustrators do, with that whimsical like brush strokes and stuff on land and stuff. But I didn't want to do that. I kind of wanted to just be free with it and let the island talk, basically.
Right.
Then that's what it came out to be, and it's evident that the art is different from any other
Mhm.
children's book that you see.
Hmm.
And then that I will put money on that. That's facts. So
Yeah, and that's not. We don't mean to throw shade by
now I'm
chance,
not throwing
to
shade,
anyone else. It's
because
just
I
that,
mean
like, yeah,
I've seen some beautiful work. Like, I'm not throwing shade. I just didn't want to go that route where you typically can go that route. So,
Right.
here I have a great example of an amazing children's book right here.
mhm.
Toddlerhood.
Oh, that's so
It's
cute.
a comic, but it's amazing. And if you did not catch the Kickstarter, you should definitely check this one out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I don't want to blaze the path of what everybody else is doing, and that's different too. And I
Yep,
love
it
that.
is.
It's
Mhm.
incredibly different, and that's the way things should be. You know.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, the passion and what you want to create and what you want to see in the world. That's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Don't conform. Don't do what everyone else does just because you think it's right.
Right.
I
Exactly.
like that it's coming from your soul. That's awesome.
Yes.
Hmm. Let's see. Sorry, I have to like read my questions
Oh no,
Oh,
because
you're
you're
fine.
good.
You're fine. I'm
Trust
having
me, I
fun.
hate it.
I'm having fun. Keep
I
going.
do that on our show too. I'm like, where's my question?
I've got like a list of them too. So I'm like, oh no, which one am I on? Where
I'm
am
like, I
I?
prepped for this. Where are they?
Right? Ah, oh, here's a good one. Do you ever wish you could leave our world and go hang out in your world that you guys are creating and like experience that? yourself personally?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I 100%, because I know the world now. So, and where the world is going is only getting better. So, yeah, so definitely 100%, because it's grounded, but so embedded and threaded in fantasy, but like a very grounded fantasy. And like, we didn't want to go too wild, like we're not giving kids powers and stuff, but there's things that are key elements that will be. I'm gonna shut up. You go ahead, Moana. Because I'm going to be talking about something that we shouldn't be talking about.
I know, because my brain is going there too.
Yeah, I need to silence myself, because I'm like, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. I don't want to do that. So, like I said, in book 2, there's sprinkles of what's going to happen. So I just don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, totally. Definitely keep those secrets. Keep everybody.
Yeah, just know that the fantasy element is a factor in it, but it's very grounded. Moana placed it that way. She wrote it that way, and it's going to continue that way. We just don't want it. Wanted people to think that we're going to get kids powers and are going to fly. That's not happening. So it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be something that is new. It's very new. It's not like an old idea. It's a new idea, but grounded in staples of what we know. But the way she wrote it, it feels so fresh, like eating apple pie when it's right out the
Nice.
That's how it is. It's that fresh. And I think that she has something really, really, really special. Like, it's special. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's important for me, and Ryan has definitely picked this up along the way, is because this is also grounded in indigenous culture. It's important for the environment, to be a character, to be a living thing that our characters are engaging with, and that if they are in, how can I say this, in alignment and in understanding of the powers of the environment around them, then they can use them. I'll say that.
I saw you walking. You were walking.
I walked to the cliff, but I didn't go over.
I have to bring you guys back on in like 2-3 more books so you can talk about this.
She caught herself. She's good.
Man, I do that all the time. Aaron gets so mad at me. I'll be like, in comment sections, I'll be like, oh, just wait until this happens. And Aaron will come in and delete it off of our website. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, I think like I was saying, like, book 1 is your stepping stone. Book 2 is your jump off point.
Mm-hmm.
Book 3 is the journey. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. That's what it is. That's what people need to know. That's it.
Yes.
Is there some part of your story, be it like a character or a setting or a scene, that just like it needs to be there, but you don't personally like it? You're like, man, I hate that I have to do this, or I hate this place, or like I don't like this bully character, but they have to be there. Kind of something that's just like.
That's a great question. I mean, yeah, I don't like the character because it's a villain essentially. But he definitely needs to be there, because you can't have a good protagonist without the antagonist, right? And I think people are actually gonna love the antagonist.
I think so too.
I mean, because I don't like what the character stands for, but I love it visually.
Yeah, I would echo that. I would say, like, I didn't hate anything that I was doing.
He hated
Except-
coloring the page.
Except one page, like except 2 pages that I don't particularly like, due to the fact that I wish the color was different. But it's still beautiful, in my opinion.
It is. Yeah.
I think for us, I think people will understand what Moana has written is the antagonist it plays a larger factor overall in scope on how the world deals with Hawaii, and people don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
They just gloss it over, like you see it in most television shows and outlines. But there's a problem with that, and our villain represents that in a very big way, and it's going to be even bigger going forward. But Moana does it so gracefully and so slightly, you don't realize what the character is about until you look into it further. So I think for me, you'll understand where we take the villain in the next book. He will play a bigger role in the next book, a huger role, because he represents something that no one basically wants in Hawaii across the board. Across the board. So it's facts, and you'll see it because he's in book 2. That might be everybody's favorite character to be like, because what we based him off of, what we based him off
I'm
of.
so curious now.
The way he's based off of, you'll understand why. But I think that's what it's going to be. But those are my favorite pages of the whole entire book as well. So, yeah, I think it would be the villain. Yeah, because there is a villain.
A little bit of a love-hate relationship with
Yes.
like
Mm-hmm.
the aesthetic, but the character.
Yeah. Because the villain is very important overall of the arc of the whole entire story.
Mm-hmm.
But he's
do you guys have any plans to jump into like a multiverse or other worlds, or are you kind of like
she's talking right now? As she's talking, she's trying to get more out. See what she's doing? See what she's doing, Moana?
I will say there.
Isekai, man.
Yes, there are many opportunities to
we
potentially jump into other worlds.
Yeah, we jump
Okay.
in other places in this book too.
We don't have to reveal any secrets. I'm just.
There is some jumping.
see.
I'll say that. There's some jumping.
To say the least, yes.
To say the least.
I'm right. I think we've covered like all of my questions without me even asking him. I'm like, I don't know what to say anymore. Oh no.
Well,
because I'm like, I can't ask that one because I don't want to spoil your story, and I can't.
What is it? What is it?
Well, the one I just asked. Mostly.
Oh, the worlds. I mean, we do jump worlds in book 2. I can't talk about the worlds. I won't talk about the worlds. I have an NDA. There's an NDA. No, but I think the world that we present in book 2 is very island based. It's very in the world of Hawaii. We do go outside of Hawaii, but we don't know where we're at. It's that. Okay.
It's a little discovery adventure.
It's discovery, correct. And then you'll come back, but it's not the same, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there any specific plot point from book 1 that you'd like to kind of elaborate on and maybe kind of like set the groundwork? Like maybe if somebody noticed this thing in book 1, they will have a better experience in book 2?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, here, I'll say this. So, book 1, there's a creature that could be viewed as a villain or not. It's typically viewed as a villain, but that's doesn't show up in book 2. But like, what I want to do in terms of quote unquote villains or antagonists or protagonists is kind of play with the way we typically look at them. So like in book one, it's a shark, and it's out there, it's watching. Like it's in every page. If you're paying attention, you see the shark out there. And for most people, they think like Jaws, like danger, don't go. But in Hawaiian culture, shark presence can be viewed as what we would call an aumakua, which is a family member who has gone on to the next realm and has reincarnated into an animal, which is now a guardian spirit watching over from the other realm, right? And so in that story, we show the shark as someone that's good and is helping to provide for the family. And that's kind of like something that I want to carry through the series in terms of like, because we do this with our comic book too, is there really a good or a bad, or is it just someone's perspective based on like their point of view and how they're viewing something? I like to play with that. I think that makes for good storytelling when you do that. So that's my little way. I don't know if it comes through, but we'll see. That's what I'm trying to do there.
Okay. That's a cool little snippet for people watching. They can like go check that out, read the book. You've got a catch up. You've got a catch up bundle on your Kickstarter.
It's in book too, because Nakoa has a necklace.
Yes,
that is a direct correlation to the first book. So
that's true. Yes,
he's wearing a necklace, which is a direct line to the first book. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yep. That's a good point too. Yes.
Yeah. So if they get that digital catch up or physical catch up, they can read book one. They can check that out, pay attention, and see those little things you guys are sprinkling through.
There's a lot of sprinkles.
A lot of sprinkles. Gotta pay attention.
You have to pay attention. You just do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to talk about before we wrap it up?
So yeah, we can talk about the Kickstarter just at a high level. So the main product of our current Kickstarter is for an activity and coloring book that is the companion for the series. There are coloring pages, right, mostly Ryan's art in the physical version of it. And so it's a lot of the Shadows of the Ancient art. And then on the digital side, which you get in addition, if whether you back physical or digital, you'll get the digitals either way. But the digital pages will have the same thing, Ryan's art, plus some bonus pages. We have some new illustrators that are coming in and giving their perspectives on our Mo'o character, which is the myth or legend that we're particularly focused on in this book. And it's really cool because we just get to see like
different
it's just different interpretations
of how they view the character. Yeah.
Yes, because the Mo'o they're not written about a lot, so there's a lot of things that you can do to imagine, how they would manifest in real life or in fantasy or whatever, and so folks will get those bonus pages as well. As we mentioned too, you can also get the back book. So Fishing Day with Papa Ray, which is the first one, and Shadows of the Ancient hardcover. Both of those would be signed. They will be signed by me, and then Shadows of the Ancient will be signed by both me and Ryan. And if kids' books are not exactly your bag, or activity books are not your bag, we also have comics on there. Our series, The Wild Card Chronicles, is a two-wheeled action adventure, Afrofuturistic, joyride, I would say. Lots of culture and indigenous aspects sprinkled through there too, but more from a sci-fi cyberpunk kind of storyline. If you like gritty storytelling, that's definitely something that you pick up. Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. That's written by my husband Nuri. So tidbit, I'm also trying to do with the kids book is have the elements of the kids book also fit into the larger Wildcard Chronicles universe. But you're not going to see that yet because we're still very early. But when I'm writing the characters and the storyline, I'm thinking about, you know, what my husband's trying to develop with that part and how those worlds can meet.
I love that. That's exciting. I love a creative like couple trying to support each other. That's so great.
Yes.
My husband actually wants to do a children's book, so we're like switched.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Little opposite.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's got this really cute hippo character that
Oh my God.
one day.
Love hippos. I mean, I know they're like one of the most dangerous animals on the planet,
Right.
but I mean, I think it's badass.
It's pretty adorable. It's the only thing he can draw.
Hey, you gotta go with the strengths, man.
Go with your strengths.
That's what I do. I'm like, I know my culture. I'm gonna write about this.
That's great. Well, has it been? It has been 40 minutes. That is our time.
Okay.
So, thank you guys for coming on. It's been really fun learning about your story and your art, and I'm excited to read it. And anybody watching, like I said, links in the description. Check it out. Support the Kickstarter. Get both those books. Get all the books.
Bitsy, is your campaign still running too?
Wow, I've got like 20 hours left.
Well, you can put your link up too, so we can check it out and see how we can support it.
All right, I'll throw that in the description or in the comics too. We can do a little cross promo.
Yes, because I gotta send a backer update tonight, so I'll give you a shout.
Sweet, awesome, thank you so much. And hey, I hope this helps bring in some people, and I hope people listen and find those sprinkles.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
I love those kind of sprinkles.
Yes.
All right. Do you guys want to tell people where they can find you? And
yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, you can find me at Facebook at Ryan Robinson. On Instagram, it's R248, and then I'm on TikTok, Art of Ryan Robinson.
Woohoo! So for me, you can find me at The Real Life Moana on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, Moana McAdams. And you can find us on the Moana Nui podcast every Thursday at 7 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our podcast is on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and then all of the podcast platforms, whichever one is your favorite. And of course, the Kickstarter that's live right now. We have 3 days left. It ends on Friday. MoanaTheAuthor.com. Thank you so much, Bitsy.
Thanks,
Betsy.
Thank
you for coming on. You guys have a great evening. And I want to give a huge shout out to the Stranger Army for your monetary support. And thank you to anybody who stopped by and watched. That is all for now. Stay strange.